Check my drag link. Connected to the upper steering arm. Through the kingpin, connected to the lower steering arm. The lower steering arm connected to the tie rod, going parallel with the steering, the front steering axle. It's not touching the suspension, it's not touching the inside of the tires. All castle nut. This will look like the top of the castle or a king's crown. Okay, they lock in place with the cutter pin. This is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 on the other side. All castle nut, tightly mount the linkage arm in place, lock in place with the cutter pin. All the ball joints, the ends on this side, they're all properly greased. Condition of the linkage arm, not bent, twist, not touching the suspension, not touching the inside of the wheel. Physically, I would grab hold and shake each one. Okay, you don't need to grab them. Physically, I would grab each one, shake to make sure it's not loose. So you got 2 points, one for the steering gearbox and one for the linkage arms. Next, we're going to the suspension. We get the spring mount. The spring mount is bolted to the frame. We get the back spring mount over there, also bolted to the frame. So the front and back spring mount, the nuts and bolts are present. Front and back spring mount bolted to the frame, not bent, dent, twist, crack. The front hanger, nut and bolt present, tightly mount the leaf spring, the eye, the bushing, tightly mount the leaf spring to the hanger, bolted to the spring eye, properly greased, locked in place with a cutter pin. On the back, we have a shackle plate, inside, outside. The top nut and bolt, inside, outside. The present, tightly bolted to the hanger. Okay, the bushing, properly greased. Then a one and a bend or twist. The bottom pulley, inside, outside, nut and bolt present. The bushing is mounted from the hanger to the spring eye, inside, outside. They're tightly mounted in a bent, net, twist, crack, and properly greased because there's grease fittings. Now all my leaf springs, they're all present. They're not bent, net, twist, crack, they're not shifting. Two U-bolts right here. They tightly bolt the leaf springs to the top of the axle and the bottom of the axle. The 4 nuts are present. They tightly bolted to the U-bolt, so there's no movement. Then a bent, dent, twist, or crack. All my leaf springs are present. Then a bent, dent, twist, crack. This is called a shifting strap. 1, 2, 3, way back there. Shifting strap, tightly mount the leaves in line so that they don't shift. And that is your 3 points for your suspension. Spring mounted hanger, leaf spring, and somebody stole the shock absorber. Maybe somebody went sham the military.
Shock absorber.
They never put shock absorber. But the army can get by with that, no problem. So next, so you only get 2 points for the suspension, spring mount, and hanger, and the bushing to the spring eye, 1 point. The leaf spring and the securement to the axle is your second point. Just tell the examiner somebody stole a shock absorber. There's no bracket for the shock absorber. Normally there's a bracket right there. And the shock absorber usually mounted to the frame. So you're only gonna get 2 points for the suspension, but that's okay. You get 4 points for the brake, starting with the brake hose connection on the frame. The hose connection, the coupling on the frame, the coupling on the brake chamber. When we check the coupling, this is the coupling, one here, one there. We tell the examiner that the couplings are tightly both here. One part of the hose to the frame, the other part, coupling connects the hose to the brake chamber. Condition of the coupling, the thread's not stripped, damage, no air leak, not bent or twist. This is the air hose rubber. The coupling, hose connection on both sides. The threads are not stripped and they're tightly connected to the brake chamber coupling and the coupling on the frame. Okay, so it's not bent, twist or cracked. This is called a pressure clamp. Tightly mount the hose to the clamp. This is the air hose rubber. No bulge in the hose, no cut, crack, frayed, tear hole, not collapse. No rot, no leak when the brake is applied. That's your first point for the brake. Your second point is the brake chamber clamp. Nothing more present, bolted to the brake chamber. Brake chamber condition, no bent, dent, twist, crack, not rusted, no hole, no leak when the brake is applied. For securement, the nut and bolt present, the brake chamber bolted to the S-cam bracket. S-cam bracket, all the bolts are present, bolted to the wheel hub. Condition, a bent in, twist, crack. The grease fitting, properly greased. Push rod coming out of the brake chamber, connected to the slack adjuster arm. The rod is connected to the clevis. The clevis pin, cutter pin, tightly mounted to the slack adjuster arm. This is an automatic slack adjuster connected to the push rod or the clevis. Now bent and twist, crack, properly greased. For me to check the adjustment, I would have to pull on the slack adjuster. Okay, you don't have to pull them, just tell them just simulate. Okay, but if you're the driver, you would pull them. Okay, shouldn't come out of the chamber more than 1 inch. If it goes more than 1 inch, you have to back up, slam the brake, automatic slack adjuster. Go forward, slam the brake, it adjusts by itself. If it doesn't adjust, then you gotta take them to the shop. You gotta write them up. Slack adjuster arm mounted to the S-cam shaft. Nothing but present, tightly bolted to the S-cam shaft, not bent and twist or crack. Properly greased. And this is the S-cam shaft. All the bolts are present. S-cam shaft bolted to the wheel hubs. Not bent and twist, crack. Now inside of this, we have a brake lining. It's a 2-piece lining. The rivets They tightly mount the lining to the shoe. There's two shoe, one on the bottom, one on the top, or it can be one on the left side, one on the right
The
side.
other side doesn't work.
When you press on the brake,
But we use it.
the shoes get pushed out with a cylinder piston, and they come into contact inside of the surface of the brake drum, and that's how you brake. You must tell the examiner the lining wear is 1/4 of an inch. All the rivets tightly mount the lining to the shoe, top and bottom. No metal shavings exposed. No oil or grease saturated on the lining, top and bottom. Brake drum inside surface should be smooth. There should be no groove in there. If there's groove, the rivets is protruding out of the lining, and now it's cutting into the inside surface of the brake drum. It should be smooth, no groove, no gouge, no scoring. No oil or grease saturated inside of the brake drum. Now that's your 4 points now. One for the hose, one for the chamber, one for the slack adjuster, one for the brake drum and lining. 4 points for the brake, 2 points for the suspension, steering gearbox, and the link. I mean not the suspension, the steering. Steering gearbox and the linkage arms, you get 2 points. You're getting cheated, you lose 1 point on the suspension. You get spring mount hand hanger, the first point, and then you get the U-bolts and the leaf spring is your second point. Tire, got 4 points. Tire, rim, lug nut, hub oil seal. When we do the tire, we do the inside and the outside sidewall. We're looking for tread separation or exposure. There should be no bulges, bubbles sticking out of the tire. There should be no cut, crack, tear, hole, loose fabric. No leak from the tire, no scuffing up the tire. No slices on the tire. That's your first point. Then the minimum tread depth for the steering tires is 4/32 in every major groove. Even wear, no mismatch type of tires on the same axle or sizes on the same axle. To check the inflation, I can hit it with the hammer, listen for a solid tone. Or I can locate the valve stem. Stick a tire pressure gauge to the valve stem to get the tire manufacturer stamped on the sidewall of the tire. 160. Or 120. You can see them on the sidewall. Tire pressure. Down there. 130. Okay. Manufacturer pressure for the tire is 130 psi. The valve stem not bent in, twist or crack, no leak.